Hello, first graders. Welcome to a new math lesson. Please open your book, page 573. We are on topic 14, and we're still learning about shapes. Today's lesson number 5. Let's see what we have.
Use exactly 10 pattern blocks to make a picture of a boat. Draw the shapes in the space to show your boat. Then, use what you know about tens. How many pattern blocks would you need to make 6 boats?
Okay, so for this activity, we will have fun. What we need to cut pattern shapes, so we can cut triangles, squares, trapezoids, rhombus, and we can use them. So over here, the deal that you need to use only 10 pattern blocks to make the picture of a boat. So first you decide how the boat will look like, and then you will fill using the shape. So I'm just gonna show you something quickly, and then you can just do something similar to what I'm saying or what I'm doing here. And then you can use any shapes. So these are the shapes to fill here and to see how many did you use. So how many pattern blocks you can have. Of course, when you do yours, you're gonna cut the shapes and with the supervision of an adult. So cut these shape after you trace them and try to have fun and see how many pattern blocks would you need to make one boat. They want 10. So if you're gonna have 6 boats, each boat get 10. So I'm gonna make 6 boats, and for each boat I'm using 10 pattern. So that's mean 60. Very good. 60 pattern blocks. All right, let's go watch our video.
You can use shapes to make pictures. You can use these shapes to make a house. What are the names of the shapes used to make this house? A triangle and a square. Which shape is the roof of the house?
Select your answer.
So now we're using shapes to have fun and to compose different pictures. So we have 2 shapes and we just put them on the top of each other in a special way, and we see that we made a house. Now they ask, the triangle and a square, we use them for a house. Which shape is the roof of the house? So this is the roof, so it's the triangle.
The triangle is the roof of the house. Could the triangle be placed on the sides or bottom of the square? Explain. No, the triangle needs to be on top. The triangle is the roof, and the roof is on the top of a house. You can add shapes to change the picture. You can add these shapes to the house. How is this house different from the first house?
All right, so as we see, this house is bigger and it looks like 3D that I can see different size from the house. Also, we used more shapes here. So for this activity, you're gonna really be creative and you're gonna enjoy and have fun, because this is what we used to do for fun when we were young in the kindergarten, or even till now. We still have these fun shape and try to put them on the top of each other or next to each other to make different shapes. So we can have fun and do this. Again, if you're going to have this pattern, you can always trace them, cut them, and keep them for this topic, because we're going to use them. We used them in the previous lesson, and we're going to use them again for another lesson.
This house is larger. How many shapes were added to the first house to make this house? 2 shapes were added. When shapes are added, does the house become smaller or larger? The house becomes larger. You can use these shapes to make the house even larger. How is this house different from the second house? It is larger and taller. How many shapes were added to the second house to make this house? 2 more orange squares were added. Here are more pictures you can make.
All right. So as we say, if we have this pattern, we can use them and we can do even different shape. This is just few examples for you to try them. So this is like a flower, this is a rocket, and this is like a cat or a dog. All right, let's see what we have for our guided practice. All right, start with a triangle and use pattern blocks to make a picture. Trace around your shapes to show your picture. Write how many of each shape you used. So this is really a fun activity. These are the shapes that you need to have as a pattern, and you cut them. And of course, the answers will be different because maybe your shapes are smaller than your friend, maybe bigger. So you will be using different numbers of shapes. So this is the triangle they start with, and these are the shapes that you have to use. So we used, the first thing they've done for us, the first shapes are used is used as a triangle. So we use one triangle, and then squares. You see how many squares you will be using, and then rhombus, trapezoid, and you can put them in a different shape and a different position to make a shape. All right, I'll leave you to have fun with this activity. Enjoy it. Thank you. Hello, first graders. Welcome to a new math lesson. Please open your book, page 577, and let's start. We're still learning and using shapes, three-dimension shapes, and learning about their attributes.
Can you find objects in the classroom that are shaped like these objects? Find as many as you can and record the number of each shape you find. Circle the shape that you find the most.
All right. So these are the shapes. So we have cube, rectangular prism, sphere, cylinder, and cone. So if you look around in your room, in your classroom, see what we have. So these cannot be always the cube. This shape could be like a dice. It could be the blocks that we play with. Could be a tissue box. Sphere could be a ball. Cylinder could be a drum, and all that. So you count how many shape of in a classroom look like object with this shape, and you put the number here, and then circle the shape that you find the most. Right? Let's watch our video.
How do you define three-dimensional shapes? Let's find out. Three-dimensional or 3D shapes can be grouped in different ways. What is the name of this shape? It is a sphere. This shape is a rectangular prism. This is a cylinder. This is a cube. And this is a cone. How is a cylinder different from a cone?
Okay, so we learn few words today: sphere, rectangular prism, cylinder, cone, and cube. So the question, how is the cylinder different from a cone? Well, I can see the cylinder got two flat sides, but the cone has only one flat side.
A cylinder has two flat surfaces. A cone has only one. What is the shape of the flat surface on a cylinder or a cone?
Select your answer.
So the two flat surfaces in a cylinder and one flat surface on the cone, they both look like circle or rectangle. Very good.
The flat surface of each of these shapes is a circle. These shapes have edges and vertices. Their flat surfaces are called faces. How are the faces of a rectangular prism different from the flat surfaces of a cylinder?
Okay, again, these are rectangular prism, these are cube, and we can see that they have edges and vertices, and the flat surface, we call it faces. So how the faces of the rectangular prism different from the flat surface of the cylinder? As we know, this for the cylinder is sphere, but for the rectangular prism, all are rectangles.
A rectangular prism's faces are rectangles. A cylinder's flat surfaces are circles. The faces of a cube and a rectangular prism are all rectangles. A cube is a special rectangular prism that has squares for all of its faces.
Remember, a square is a rectangle too.
How is a sphere different from all of the other 3D shapes?
Okay, if we look at the sphere, I know there is no flat surfaces, right? No edges and no vertices.
A sphere is a 3D shape that has no flat surfaces, no edges, and no vertices. Now you know some ways to define 3D shapes.
So when we define 3D shapes, we can use a number of the edges or vertices and faces. We also can say if it's flat or if it's not, and if it has or it doesn't have. Like in our case here, the sphere has no flat surfaces and no edges and no vertices. All right, let's go to our guided practice on our book, page 578. Okay, write how many faces or flat surfaces and vertices each 3D shapes have. So we have two shapes. We have rectangular prism and we have a cone. We need to write the number of the flat surface or faces and number of vertices and number of edges. So the first one is done for us. We have rectangular prism, number of faces or flat surfaces, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Number of vertices, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And number of edges, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we have 12 edges, 8 vertices, and 6 flat surfaces. And if you go back to the videos, they show you when they do the animation and they show you the numbers of the flat surfaces, vertices, and the edges. Now we're looking for the cone. Now I'm looking for flat surface. How many flat surface or face the cone got? We know the cone have only the bottom, 1. So we're gonna write 1. Okay, number of vertices, 1. So we're gonna write 1. Up here. And number of edges, very good, nothing, 0. Okay, so that's pretty much what we have. The rest of the activity is fun. You're gonna have objects, looks like 3D shapes. So you could have a ball, it looks like sphere, or you have a block, looks like a cube or rectangular prism, or a drum that looks like cylinder, and you will be answering the same question: how many faces of flat surface, or how many vertices, and how many edges this shape have. All right, I'll leave you the rest of the activity, first graders. That's it for today. Thank you. Hello, first graders. Welcome to a new math lesson. We're still on topic 14. Today's lesson, lesson 7. We will be learning how to measure a shape and how to build and compose another shape. So let's see the example we have in your book, page 581.
Measure the lengths of the cylinders. How could you make a tower 10 cubes tall using some of the cylinders? Tell what shape the tower would be.
All right. So they made it easy for you. Here we have cylinders, and these are the cubes. So this is how we're going to measure each cylinder. We have orange, red, green, blue, and yellow. And we have the cubes here. So let's see. If I look at the first one, orange, I can see 1, 2, 3 cubes, right? 1, 2, 3. Awesome. So I'm going to write 3, and I put it up there next to that orange cube. The red one is 1, so 1 cube. I'm gonna put number 1 next to red, and then the green, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 cubes. I'm gonna write number 5 next to that green cylinder. For the blue one, 1, 2 cubes. So I'm going to write 2 cubes, 2, next to the blue cylinder. And last one, the yellow, 1, 2, 3, 4. The yellow cylinder is 4 cubes. I'm going to write 4. I'm going to put them here. So that's the first part of my activity, that I measured the length of the cylinders and use the cubes, and I put them there. The next part says, how could you make a tower with 10 cubes tall using some of the cylinders? That's mean I need to have cubes or cylinders that when I add the number of cubes, it will make 10. So I see the orange get 3 cubes, 1 cube for the red, 5 cubes for the green cylinder, 2 cubes for the blue, and 4 cubes for the yellow. So I need total to be 8. So I can use orange. Let's see. I can use the orange. That's 3 plus 5. The green cylinder, 5. So 3 plus 5 equals 8. How many do I need to make 10? 2. Very good. So I can take my blue cylinder. And if I build them on the top, put them on the top of each other, I will have a tower that I used 10 cubes for this. How do I know? I know that the cylinder, the orange one, I chose 3 cubes. The green was made out of 5 cubes, and the blue, I used 2 cubes. So if I add 3 plus 5 plus 2 will make 10. All right. Let's watch our video.
Are these all the same kind of 3D shape?
Let's find out.
How are these shapes alike?
So we're looking at the vertices, we're looking at the surfaces, and we're looking also at the corner or flat surface.
They all have 6 faces, 8 vertices, and 12 edges. How are these shapes different? They are different colors and sizes. They are also in different positions. We define 3D shapes by the shape and number of faces or flat surfaces and by the number of edges and vertices. How can you define a rectangular prism? It is a shape that has 6 faces, 8 vertices, and 12 edges. Are all of these shapes rectangular prisms?
Select your answer.
All right. So now we know that to define a shape that it has to have a number of faces or vertices or edges. We do not define a shape because of the color or because of the size. We cannot say this is a rectangular prism because it's big or because it's blue, or we cannot say it's not a rectangular prism because it's yellow or because it's small. So when we define a shape, we have to see the faces, the vertices, and the edges. All right?
Yes, they all have the traits needed for rectangular prisms. Why are these shapes not the same kind of shape? One shape has no flat surfaces, some have no vertices, and some have no edges. The flat surfaces on one shape are rectangles, and on another are circles. Color does not define shapes. Just because shapes are the same size or color does not mean they are the same. These shapes are all green, but there is a rectangular prism, a sphere, and a cylinder. Color does not define shapes. What is each of these shapes? How do you know?
All right. We know that these are rectangular prism. How do I know? Because I know the number of sizes. I see that they have how many flat surface, how many vertices, and how many edges. All right.
Each of these shapes is a rectangular prism. All of the shapes have 6 faces, 8 vertices, and 12 edges. Are all of the rectangular prisms facing the same way? No, they are not all facing the same way. Are all of the rectangular prisms the same size? No, they are not all the same size. Does size or position determine if the shapes are rectangular prisms?
No, we know that. We know that the number of faces, surfaces, and vertices will help me to define the shape, not the size, not the position, not the colors. So we know that this is rectangular prisms because it has 6 faces, 8 vertices, and 12 edges.
No. Color, size, and direction don't define a shape. Some things about these shapes are different, but they are all rectangular prisms.
All right, so let's see our guided practice. In your book, page 582. All right, circle the words that are true for the shapes. Same like the activity we had before. Remember when we were saying that we cannot define a shape because the color, we cannot say all squares are blue or all squares are big. Same here for the 3-dimension shapes. We have the same definition. We define the shape, or we decide this shape is rectangular prism or square or cube, I'm sorry, is cube or sphere by looking at the number of the vertices or the number of the edges or the surfaces. So in this activity, say circle the words that are true for the shape. So we have cones. Now, look what it says. All cones are yellow? No. All cones have one vertex? Yes. All cones are open shapes? No. All cones can roll? Yes. If you have a cone shape and you just try to roll them on the floor, you will see that it will roll. All right. Okay, I will leave you with the rest of the activity on your book, page 583 and 584. That's it for today, first graders. Thank you.